Today, I want to talk to you about the differences between buying a house that's part of a development, sometimes called tract homes, and building a custom home. And these are just some of my observations and opinions, so you can take them for what they're worth. But in the background here, I'm showing you our beautiful land that we purchased and are building a custom home on. So that brings up, what are the differences between a development tract home situation and a custom home? We'll also talk about some of the pros and cons, and I think they're pros and cons both ways, honestly. But in the development, you are buying a lot next to a lot of other lots, and in the development, you may have a couple of options from what I understand as far as lot size and placement. Hopefully you can, if you're early enough in a development, you can pick the location and lot that you want, but you are going to be limited to that developer's plans, so the different house plans. So if you are looking at building or buying a home as part of a development, you probably want to visit many different developments in locations that you like, are interested in, and seeing what their house plans are, because you're going to have that balance of what they have available. So definitely go over what are your must-haves and nice-to-haves, and then when you go look at the plans, you can see what fits your requirements the best. So the difference with a custom home is you're buying the land, and the land can be whatever location you want to build. Oftentimes that means you're getting out, you're more in a rural area like this, but you have that option of not being right next to your neighbors, not part of a huge community, less traffic. You could also look, if you're not into the rural life, you could look at purchasing land. Maybe there's a home that's not in good shape, or maybe it's in halfway good shape, and if it's got good bones, you could buy the land and remodel, refurbish the home. Or if it's, like I say, you're buying it more just for the land and the house isn't really worth anything, you could tear down the house and build your own custom home. If you can find a lot where you want to be, that's an important thing. That would also give you the option of having the utilities. If there's an existing home, you've probably got water and sewer or septic, electricity. In the case of buying just raw land, you're going to have to put in those utilities. So something to consider. Some other differences with the development option is that once you've picked your lot and you've made the agreements on the home, you're going to have options that you can pick, which is a good thing, but they are going to be somewhat limited. So when you have your showroom appointment, you're gonna, or designer, whatever term they use for that particular development, you're gonna go in and see some different options. And typically, like the level 1 or option 1 is gonna be included in the price of your home. But if you want to upgrade, you probably have 1 or 2 options for upgrading, and those are going to be more money. So you really have to look at all of those different options and decide what it is you really want. Back to house plans for a moment. I was talking about development. In a development, you have the option of probably several different house plans, but they're going to be somewhat cookie cutter. Your house is likely going to look like the neighbors, but maybe be the opposite configuration. And you may pick some options, maybe want a bigger 3-car garage instead of the typical 2-car garage. There may be some differences like that, but when you're building a custom home on your own land, the options for your house plan is really almost limitless, if I can say that, limitless, because you can, once maybe you go shopping for your general contractor, and they may have some plans that they've used in the past, that they have ownership of, whatnot. That wasn't the case with us. The different builders that we talked to didn't really have stock plans. So it's really up to you to find plans like on the internet, which there are so many plans out there. You can get lost searching for the different plans. But once you find something close, then you can hire an architect or a designer to help you finalize. So you can get those internet plans, make some adjustments, make it, the changes that you desire. So now let's talk about the pros and the cons. Because honestly, I think there's pros and cons to both. So cons in a development are some we've already talked about. You're going to have limitations on the house plans and number of options you can select, and the upgrades. And the upgrades, even though they give you some choices, there's still going to be some limitation. It still may be builder's grade, and if you want something other than that, you may have to go with the builder's grade, and then knowing that you'll improve it a couple years down the line and replace it. Okay, another con for a development is they're more likely to be part of an HOA, which if you're not familiar, you can search for that term on the internet, but essentially you're going to have some rules and guidelines that keep the community nice. There's definitely benefits. Your dues that you must pay as part of an HOA are going to go to keeping the common areas nice, landscaped, that kind of thing. But they're also going to have certain requirements. So the place doesn't, have cars upside down in the backyard or front yard. They may have requirements like your vehicle has to be in a garage. It can't be kept on the driveway or the street. Some say no street parking. They may require certain types of products be used, like you have to have a plastic fence. You can't have a wood fence. So some other pros and cons. With a development, you may be perfectly happy with living in a community. If you're someone, or you're, especially for young families, you want to be somewhere where there's lots of other kids. There's usually like a community play area. Those are all things that are great for families. And developments are usually going to be, out a little ways, but still be close to city centers. So if you are someone that goes to work and isn't working remotely like a lot of us these days, you may need to be close to a city center, to bus lines, and that kind of thing. So that's definitely something to consider. But if you're out of that rat race, maybe you're retired or looking towards retirement, and your work doesn't require you to be near a city center, you may be able to buy land out even further and do a custom home. Now, some cons for a custom home would be that it is pretty open-ended. So once you have your house plan and you've got your general contractor, you can, you should write up a contract and have a set schedule, budget, all of those things. But as you're picking things out, which we're going through that process now for our home build, is picking windows, siding, countertops, cabinetry, decking material. You have to really keep budget in mind, because the world is your oyster. You can pick any type of materials that you want. I mean, within constraints of you working that out with your contractor and what they're comfortable doing, or hiring subcontractors to install or do for you. But it's very easy to get over budget in a hurry as you start making those decisions. And I worry, if we pick too many higher end choices in the beginning, are we going to get to the end of the project and then you're running out of money and budget? So you really have to keep a tight control on that, and have to be someone that can budget. Organization and budgeting are going to be very important, not only for your general contractor, but yourself as you're going through and making these decisions. One other plus when you're doing your own custom build is you have the option, you could be your own general contractor, and that can save you a lot of money. But it is a project that you need to be able to have the time, capacity, and talent to do project management type of work. And you've got to be able to find the subs, and I think that was one of the biggest things in our decision to hire a general contractor. Is we don't know the subcontractors in the area, so we don't want the house to take 5 years to get built either. So doing it with someone that has the experience, yes, you're going to pay more money, but in the end, I think it's going to be well worth it for us. So that is some of my thoughts, pros and cons on buying in a development or a tract home situation versus a true custom build on your own land. Thanks for watching.